Hey guys, I'm back with another candle review, and this time around it's for the 14.5 ounce 3-wick off the Vine candle from Bath & Body Works. I believe this is coming in about a week as the full launch with the candle and the body care and the perfume and all that kind of stuff. And of course, this is the like fragrance that is supposed to be capitalizing on the sort of tomato girl trend. And so this is supposed to be kind of like a tomato garden, vegetable garden inspired fragrance. Yes. So the notes on this read heirloom tomato, garden geranium, and Mediterranean moss. Yeah, so what does this smell like? It smells very much like being like out in a vegetable garden or like picking weeds. It's very much like a earthy sort of garden greenery type of fragrance is what you get from it, but there is kind of more of an emphasis of like a tomato vine type of fragrance. So what you get first and foremost is definitely a very like vegetal, almost kind of bell pepper type of fragrance is what I get from it. And so it kind of evokes like a tomato or a pepper or that type of sort of vegetable fragrance is first and foremost. It is definitely quite green. It's not so much like a ripe tomato sauce and like a pizza type of candle, but more so like the actual green sort of fuzzy leaf and stem that you get from a tomato, and you kind of smell that general area, and it kind of has that sort of tomatoey, bell pepper, green vegetable garden type of fragrance to it. That's like totally what you get in here. It's made a little bit more, I guess I would say sharp and earthy by the addition of the geranium. The geranium is present in here, and it does kind of smell like the geranium that you would get in that blue geranium candle we had many years back. It is similar to that. There is just a trace of a general kind of garden like soil earthy component to it. There's quite a bit of a woodsy feel to it as well. It almost comes off a little bit leathery in how like I guess natural or rustic the fragrance is. It also has a little bit of this kind of like cedar like tree wood type of feel to it that may be also coming from the moss note in there as well, but there's definitely like a earthy woodsy sort of tree moss type of feel mixed with that sort of bell pepper and green leaves soil note. It's not overly dirty like a full-blown like dirt fragrance would be, but it does once again evoke the elements of like being out in a vegetable garden. But you don't really get like the strong, like there's no really like intense like herbal note that you would get from like, you know, a thyme or a basil or anything like that, or there's certainly no mint or anything like that in here. It's actually rather a subdued and natural fragrance. It kind of lacks a punch, to be honest, but there is a crispness to it overall that makes it kind of fresh and green. Lastly, I think the only other thing that I kind of smell in here is a sort of like a citrus rind or a citrus peel note. And so like the most unsweetened version of like a orange peel or orange rind gives it a little bit of brightness to kind of like top it off and make it pop just a little bit. But overall, yeah, it kind of just smells like tomato leaves and like being out in the garden. And it's just very much a natural subdued fragrance that has a little bit of crispness to it. And it kind of most evokes just like smelling a bell pepper or something like that. And that's kind of what this smells like. I can't say I love it. It's certainly nothing that I would repurchase. It lacks a punch or even like a clarity to it, at least the candle. The candle gets lost very quickly. And I don't know, I kind of wish there was maybe a little bit more of like a floral punch to it. But I guess if you are somebody who's looking for more just that sort of very true to life natural experience, then this candle offers that without it being too perfumey or too floral, or too fruity or this and that. I really don't get much floral from this. I wouldn't necessarily even say it's herbal. It's just very much gardeny in the way that I described it. So that's pretty much all I can say about it. There were a number of comments, I believe, saying that this is supposed to be a dupe or inspired by the Replica From The Garden fragrance. And so the closest Sephora to me had that in stock, and I sprayed it, and it is indeed very, very similar to that fragrance. I would have to imagine this is most certainly inspired from that Replica From The Garden fragrance. I sprayed that, and when you smell it on your skin and when you smell this candle, there's very minute differences. I would say because the Replica was a full-blown perfume, it had a little bit more nuance to it. And so I would get a little bit more layers, where in the opening, I got a little bit more of a brighter, sharper citrus note on the opening. And then on dry down, you did get a little bit more of this sort of vague floral prettiness that this candle does not possess. But once again, the candle in like contrast to a full-blown perfume is hard to compare apples to apples because you don't get the full nuance of the fragrance in a candle like you would do in a perfume. So there is a good shot that the perfume might actually smell even closer to the Replica fragrance. But when you smell this candle candle and the perfume side by side, you would most certainly think that they were like inspired by each other. And so I guess if you like that Replica from the Garden fragrance and want that in candle form for a very affordable price, then this exists here. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Moving on to the performance, this is a third burn. It has a thick rope-like wicks on it. Just make sure you trim them so they don't soot too much. Even wax pull in no time. No issues with the burn so far up to this point. As for the throw, I would say it's just very light to medium. It's not super strong. Just the way the fragrance is very much like sort of a natural, rustic, outdoorsy fragrance. It's kind of like the equivalence of having just the door open and you smell the outside coming into your house. There's nothing really like super, I don't know, present or like punchy about this fragrance, that it kind of just like slips into the background as like a natural outdoor fragrance, like in the way that you would have a door open. The only time I can really smell this is when I like leave the room and I come back in, and I am most certainly hit with a blast of that sort of tomato pepper type of garden fragrance. But once I'm settled into the room, I really can't detect it because it does kind of just like, once again, just slip into the background. That I would say light to medium. Once again, I just feel, I wish there was maybe a little bit more of a prominent floral, or even the citrus was a little bit sweeter, more prominent, just to give it a little bit more of a punch. But right now it's just very much like sort of a natural rustic fragrance that kind of just like slips into the background. And so I would just put it into light to medium range. Overall, it's nothing I would repurchase. It's nothing really that I would want to wear either, or even necessarily smell in my house. I would just keep the doors open to my house and get a very similar experience. But I guess on one hand, I am appreciative that they are trying something a little bit more different and out there. And I feel like a lot of people do request a tomato vine fragrance. This is your one chance to get it. And it's in like a fun, cute, approachable packaging. And I guess I do appreciate that they are taking more of those sort of unique niche fragrances that you would get from more of the luxury fragrance market, and then bringing it to the masses, and then putting a Bath and Body Works like fun cutesy twist on it. I can appreciate that, but also on the other hand, it feels a little bit, once again, very just like dupey and redundant, because like this fragrance does seem very much inspired by the Replica fragrance, and that already exists. So like, I guess I liked Bath and Body Works when they did more of the original releases that were kind of like, they were the fragrance leaders, whereas now it feels like they're always constantly just duping something that already exists on the market and then putting their Bath and Body Works spin on it. I can appreciate it on one hand, but also be kind of, I guess, disappointed or bummed on the other, because it doesn't seem very unique or original. So I don't know, mixed feelings on this, but like, regardless of the whole alleged duping scenario, it's just not a fragrance that I would normally gravitate towards. So it's a total one and done for me. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.